Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you guys a recap of day 9 of the Washington football team's training camp. I'll be talking about some of the biggest takeaways. I'll give you guys an injury update, show you guys some highlights from today's practice, and we'll go over some of the biggest plays from today. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. So we'll first start out with some highlights from today's practice. We got a couple receiver highlights and we got some highlights from each defensive lineman, so it should be pretty good. Let's get into it.
PG and Montgomery were pretty San Francisco.
Under control?
Damn right, man. You see me, I'm throwing that motherfucker.
Right there. Good pad level now, pad level. Let's go! Here you go. Let's go! Let's go! Right there, Cat. There you go, much better.
Okay, so those were some quick highlights from today's practice. Now let's get into a recap of day 9 of training camp. And yeah, I'm not counting the practice they did on Friday as a day of training camp just because it was something separate. But let's get right into it. So we'll start off with an injury update. So Kyle Allen is still dealing with that ankle injury, and Ron Rivera said about a week ago, maybe even more, that it wasn't, that big of a deal. But he said, Kyle Allen would be back soon. But Kyle Allen is still injured and not really doing much. So that is a little bit concerning for Kyle Allen if he wants to, have a chance to compete for that backup job with Taylor Heinicke. I mean, he has to be healthy, and at this point, Taylor Heinicke is healthy, and he's put together a couple good days, and I don't think really, unless Kyle Allen comes back soon and he, puts together some really, really good days, I don't really see that much of a path for him to be the backup unless he gets healthy really soon and, shows out in the preseason, because that's really where, these players can separate themselves in their preseason, and the preseason starts this Thursday, so we'll see if he's, ready for by then, but I doubt it. Shaka Toney, Casey Toohill are still dealing with injuries. They both were not in pads, and Curtis Samuel still on the reserve list, but did come out to practice a little bit today. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And Sammis Reyes, William Jackson, Keith Ismail, Kelvin Harmon, and Charles Leno were all back in action, so that's good to hear. William Jackson was out on Friday for that practice. He is back. Sammis Reyes was out for, like a few days, 4 or 5 days, and he's back. So good to hear that all those guys are back, and the only guys that are injured are right here. And Matt Ioannidis did not practice today because he wasn't feeling too well, and it was not COVID related. So let's go on to some big plays. So Sam COSBY was holding his own against Chase Young today. I'll read this right here from Ben Stanig. He said, we just had some Chase Young versus Sam COSBY on one drills, and COSBY held up against straight on rushes into the body. So good to hear Sam COSBY is continuing to progress. He's getting better and better every practice, and that's good to hear. And Chase Young, that's an area where he needs to improve on a little bit, but I'm not too concerned on that right there. I'm really excited to see COSBY in the preseason and how he holds up against some of these other edge rushers that aren't really on the same level as Chase Young and Montez Sweat, because he's getting some really, really good practice in so far. Next, just kind of big play. Heinicke had a touchdown pass to Sammis Reyes in the red zone for a touchdown. So good to hear that Reyes is back and he's able to make an impact play early on. I also am excited to see what he can do in the preseason, because realistically, he's not going to make this roster, or even if he does, he's not going to have a huge impact year one. So you really want to see what he can do in these preseason games. You want him to play in these games so he can get better, so he can get some real live game action, because he hasn't gotten any. This is a new sport to him, so I think this preseason is going to be really valuable to him and help him out. And I think 1 or 2 years down the line, he can be a solid tight end. We'll see. But yeah, good to see that he's back from his knee injury, and he made a big play today with Heineke. Let's see another note from Rhiannon Walker. She says Sadiq Charles at right tackle and Cornelius Lucas at left tackle with the two. So Sadiq Charles, a lot of the reporting this offseason was that they see him as a guard, but so far in training camp, he's been getting a lot of playing time at tackle, and that could just be because Charles Leno was out for a couple of days, Cornelius Lucas was out for a while, and David Sharp is still out. But we'll see. He's getting reps with the twos, and Cornelius Lucas is with the twos at left tackle. But Ron Rivera said eventually they'll give him some reps with the ones, but he's still coming back from his stint on the reserve list. But I do think that Sam COSBY will be the day one starter at right tackle, but we'll still have to see how he does in preseason to confirm that. So Logan Thomas made another great play, and him and Ryan Fitzpatrick have some great chemistry. So Ryan Fitzpatrick throws behind Logan Thomas, working the middle of the field towards the end zone, and Thomas reaches back and catches a touchdown one-handed. So good. Again, I think Logan Thomas is going to have a great year this year. It's looking like he's going to get close to double-digit touchdowns, might even get double-digit touchdowns. He looks like he's going to have a great year. Again, this is going to be his second year as a starting tight end in the NFL. Last year was his first, had a huge year, huge breakout year. Let's see what he can do in year two, especially with some quarterbacks that are going to be able to get him the ball a little bit more down the field. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year. And yeah, he's looking really good in training camp, and it's good to see that Fitzpatrick and him are building some good chemistry, because really, really important. And he's doing the same with Terry McLaurin. And one other thing Rhiannon Walker says is that she says, I believe every 11v11 period has started with Landon Collins and Bobby McCain as a team starting safeties. Cam Curl has been mixed in during ones, though, to be clear. We'll see. I really think that Cameron Curl should start somewhere, and I really think he, even at free safety, would be better than Bobby McCain. And it's just unfortunate if he doesn't end up starting, because he had a great year last year. Landon Collins comes back, takes his spot. We'll see. Cameron Curl also could play a bunch in the big nickel position and then rotate in strong safety a few plays if Landon Collins needs a breather, and play free safety. But I just think you don't really want to. I feel like Cameron Curl is here to stay. He's under contract for 3 more seasons if you include this year. And, they could possibly move on from Landon Collins after this year. And are you really willing to sacrifice Cameron Curl's development for 1 year of Landon Collins' play? We'll see, though. I will be fine, though. I would be happy, honestly, if they had Landon Collins as strong safety and Cameron Curl as a free safety. But right now, it's kind of a mix of Cameron Curl and Bobby McCain at free safety. So hopefully they get Cameron Curl on the field somehow and, getting significant snaps, because I think he's our best safety. We'll see, though. Maybe Landon Collins looks really good and, he's able to translate that to the field. So let's go through some, play-by-play from Zach Selby, beat reporter for the Washington football team. So Fitzpatrick had a nice pass to John Bates with John Bostic covering. And, I really haven't heard that much from John Bates. So good to see, he's gotten a couple catches from Fitzpatrick. So that's good to hear right there. William Bradley King got some reps with the one, or not with the one, sorry, but he had some good reps in the 1v1s and took a hit from John Bates, but recovered quickly and won the rep. And I've heard some really good things from William Bradley King, and I think he has a good chance of making the roster as the 8th defensive lineman. I think James Smith-Williams isn't necessarily a lock, but he's close to one, as long as he stays healthy. And then after that, it's a 3-way battle between William Bradley King, Casey Toohill, and Shaka Toney. Shaka Toney and Casey Toohill are both injured right now, so William Bradley King has the edge right there. Benjamin St. Juste had some good coverage on De'Ami Brown. Darrell Roberts, he had a good day. Had an interception, I think, off of Heineke, and had some nice coverage on DeAndre Carter. earlier today. Ricky Seals-Jones had a nice slide and grab while working against Jordan Brown. And I think that, Ricky Seals-Jones and Tamarick Hemingway are really competing for that last tight end spot, because we know Logan Thomas is going to make the roster as tight end 1, and then John Bates is probably going to make the roster, but probably as tight end 3. He's going to work his way up. But that second tight end, we'll see who ends up making it. They're both looking good so far in training camp. Heineke had a nice 25-yard pass to De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown continues to show his deep, big play ability. So good to hear there. Fitzpatrick and Humphreys continuing to, show their chemistry right there. And we talked about earlier the Logan Thomas one-handed catch and also the Heineke touchdown pass to Sammis Reyes. So good to hear those guys again having some good chemistry right there. Jimmy Moreland had a nice pass breakup against Brown. So again, that's good to hear. I think Jimmy Moreland is pretty much a lock to make this roster. Their cornerback depth isn't amazing, especially at 5 through 6. If they keep 6 cornerbacks, I mean, we know Benjamin St. Juste, William Jackson, and Kendall Fuller will all make the roster. And then after that, I think Jimmy Moreland makes it. And then we'll see at 5 and 6 if they want to keep Dale Roberts. I think McTyer, Troy Apke, if they want to keep him just for special teams, Danny Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of different options they could go with. And if they want to keep 5 or 6 cornerbacks, because it could just be 5, because they might have to keep 5 safeties. Ricky Seals-Jones had a nice touchdown, thrown by Heineke. So good to see that those two are building some really good chemistry right there. We talked about the Darryl Roberts pick, and Torrey McTyer did a great job finishing the rep on Harmon. So that's good to hear right there. So some other, updates. Ron Rivera said that Curtis Samuel's injury has no timetable, says he wants to give him some reps, hopefully, in that last preseason game. That's a little bit concerning to me. I really hope that once Curtis Samuel is off the reserve list, he's able to come in and get off the PUP list after that, right away, because it's a little concerning. It's been basically almost 2 weeks since the start of training camp, and if he's off the reserve list and still dealing with that groin injury, that's going to be a little bit concerning for me. We will see, though. Hopefully he is back, because he needs to. I know he is familiar with the offense and Scott Turner, but he's not familiar with his teammates. I mean, he played with Terry, but besides that, he didn't play with Ryan Fitzpatrick, some of the other receivers. He needs to get used to this. So that's just something to keep in mind. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.